Greetings everyone, it is I, the other masked man, who has returned to give you more help, more advice, and yes, I have seen the requests for SSR related videos and development related videos. I will try and get to that in due time. The masked man is busy, or he is busy. Anyway, this video we are going to be focusing on the Fierce Enemy Assault, the brand new event here on SD Gundam Eternal, and our first real event. We of course have had the tutorialization, whoops, that's the wrong screen, go into here, and we have done the tactical training, but now we are getting our first real event. And why are you super interested in doing this? Well, because you can get an SSR unit for free, which is pretty cool, especially like this early on in the game. These type of units are absolutely essential for making really good progress since URs are so expensive. And yes, technically if you are getting a bunch of URs to fully maxed out, that is probably going to be almost certainly just better in a lot of cases. But we all live in reality, and as I've said, the real world is nothing like the ones in pop songs. That is an actual quotation from another masked man. So the Fierce Enemy Assault, what's interesting here, first off, I want to note that on the screen, you note that the red Gundam is here from G-Quux, but there's actually no enemy, no enemy, no enemy, which I think is really interesting because in the future, we're going to see more of these events happen quite regularly where there are multiple enemies, which is pretty cool. I'm really excited for what that will look like down the line. Now, getting in and talking about what this event is like, there are 3 difficulties to play at: normal, hard, and expert. You'll also notice the power point requirement, as well as you will get ranked for the 3 medals. If you can get the full 3, then you will be able to skip, which will make farming a little bit faster and a little bit easier. Now again, my account hasn't been around too long yet, and I haven't hit 150,000 quota, but I do have some reports out there from people who even have power quotas of about 240,000 who have already finished the expert one. And I have to tell you, just for people out there wondering about how powerful whales actually are, well, the 240,000 is quite nice for all that sounding stuff, especially against 150,000 power rating. But the sad fact is that the power rating here doesn't really mean too much. Exias that are level 100 going up against the 150,000 one can get one-shotted by the boss. It really is that kind of situation in this game. You can't just go full frontal all in here. You will get absolutely decimated. And using auto, it is possible to clear these missions with even 3 of your units. That's right, 3 of your units dying on one of these maps and still getting all 3 medal requirements for skipping. So the game is pretty generous in a lot of conditions, a lot of areas, but I think that a lot of people, when they go up against the bosses and get horribly one-shotted very quickly, with your most powerful unit just being destroyed in a single attack, will probably have a very visceral and negative reaction to the game, but it's not quite that situation. So what I'm going to talk about is specifically for this video is strategy and what you should be looking at doing, and in future videos I'm going to actually do harder difficulties with the setup that I am proposing. But for this video only, I do want to just talk about the event and what you should look to be doing. You'll also note that the energy cost does go up as the difficulty goes up. So the basic one is only 10 energy. That's pretty good. 15 energy for the second one and 20 energy for the third. That is really important to note, seeing that it is potentially a lot of energy right now at the beginning of the game when people don't have that much. So, you know, spending energy where is important. But again, the rewards are pretty nice. For completing the normal one, you will get a copy of the SSR red Gundam, and that's really what you want. But then even completing normal up to 10 times will give you one of the upgrade materials that you will need, as well as some other bonuses, which is generally nice, going upwards of expert as you can see, will give another one, and hard will give another one. So if you're looking to fully upgrade the Red Gundam, you will kind of need to do expert and do it particularly well enough to at least probably be able to auto for a few days. However, with only about 10 days, at 3, you're basically going to need to have this done about 5 days in with 3 medals to get through it. Probably the most efficiently, depending on, if you're willing to run this map a bunch of times. But of course, yeah, auto, just going in and talking about that really quickly, auto will get your characters killed because auto is just looking to do things as fast as possible in a specific order. And while it's generally pretty competent and will get things done, it will probably get a couple of your characters killed, most likely, at least from what I've seen. So really quick, just going to show off this. This is the team that I cleared already normal with. And again, one of my units basically got killed. You can see that I am pretty fortunate, as mass men usually are, of being pretty lucky to have gotten a bunch of URs at this point that to use in different types of content. And yeah, it is what it is, but let's go in here and take a look at this. Now, we'll do the setup and all of that, go off the map, and touch on some key points of the map. Even on higher level difficulties, it's very important to note on this map something very quickly, that all of these little Zakus right here, even on higher difficulties, can be killed basically by any competently built unit. Whether your units are, even in the level 30s, should be able to kill off any of these guys in one shot. And to that point, your goal is not to kill these little buggers. That's not what they're there for. These are here specifically so your units can get amped, fired up before going up against the boss. Because the boss is the really scariest thing on this entire map. So what you want to do is you want to use all of these little units to get all of your units into good position, because this guy is just essentially going to travel down and towards you, and you want your characters to be in a good enough space that they will be ready to fire off attacks all at once. That's the goal. Basically use the small units to amp up your units, get in position, wait for him to come down, stay out of range of him so he cannot shoot you, because again, any level difficulty, you will be quite shocked to find out that this guy is very capable of destroying your units very, very quickly. The Zakus, not so much. However, it should be noted that this unit is also a support type unit, so he does have that secondary firing shot right here off of one of the other Zakus. So you do want to be a little bit careful and cautious into that. Now, also, if you kill off a bunch of these little guys, more will spawn in. So killing them, nice little bonus for getting the point quota that you need. But again, I'm not going to repeat myself anymore. That is essentially what you need to do. So yes, the goal is essentially to burst down this enemy as quickly as possible. Now here you can see about 57,000 HP, and this is where certain units will become very, very nice, such as the Freedom Gundam. You might want this unit positioned more into the center or front position so that it can basically get into a spot where it will be very easy for it to fire off its map attack against this boss, which will do a big debuff for defense, allowing you to deal a bunch of damage very quickly to this unit by other units that follow after. Also, the aerial is another unit that is capable of firing off an attack from a long distance that will be very difficult for the enemy to actually counter and give that defense debuff. It's another nice little option. You also want these support units into good positions so that they are firing off multiple attacks at once. The more support units that you do have at high levels will allow you to chain a large amount of damage very quickly when our enemy comes down here. But again, as I talked about in the previous video, where I talked about tier lists and what units are really good, well, the Freedom's map attack unit is generally really nice for this, of having that big debuff that you can fire off without fear of the enemy firing back. However, again, I personally like the aerial a little bit more. Really great in these situations where against a single target. Now, if you are wondering about ways of potentially keeping your units alive, then maybe consider bringing along some defensive units. So long as your units are in the general proximity of these units, they can take a step in to take a large portion, or well, basically take an attack away from the opponent. And that's a big key to survival because defensive units have so much defense and a large amount of damage reduction skills that can basically reduce the amount of damage and prevent fatal shots if you need an extra turn. So yes, with all that in mind, you're basically looking to pile as much damage. The only other thing that I want to touch on before we end this video is about this unit itself and its range. It does have a 3 to 5 power range, which is particularly pretty scary. This is one of the most scary abilities that you will have to go up against. Its bit ability is, as you can see, its power level is very high at 3900. So if you are thinking about where you want to be, you kind of want to be out of that 3 to 5 range because it could end up getting you horribly decimated. The lowest attack power is this 122, which kind of just works out to being the 2 away distances. That's probably your safest range. However, I have seen people online say that about the 1 to 3 is really where you want to be in, but I think that 2 to 3 probably the safest since it is the lowest power level, and I think most of the time the enemy does default into this attack, which is your best chance of being safe. So there you go. That is everything that I think is important for this. So we will take a look at trying the hard difficulty in another video that I will be doing pretty soon. But thank you so much for watching. Hopefully this helps you out. And of course, like, subscribe. I'm the Masked Man. I am able to do these kind of things where the other guy won't say those things. And of course, share this video if you find it helpful. Thanks so much for watching. Take care. Best of luck to you. I need a quote to go out on. I think I had one. What was it? I'm totally blanking on where that actual one is. Ah, yes, here it is. You mustn't let mistakes weigh you down, dear viewer. Acknowledge them and take what you've learned to move on. That is the privilege of being a man. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.